Welcome back, you guys. I'm sorry, I was just double checking to make sure it was recording. But yes, so today's video, I wanted to show you guys that I am actually showing you some of the design of my PCB making machine. It's gonna be a machine that's basically a 3D printer slash CNC machine, but it's just for basically using a end mill, like a little router that has like a ER11 collet that can actually attach milling bits like a V bit, and it'll be able to actually cut through the PCB copper traces and mill everything out for me, hopefully. But so right here is just a cube that I had got in Blender, because usually whenever you do open Blender, it automatically gives you a 2mm cube. And I have on the side over here, if you hit N on your keyboard, you can actually get this viewing information over here. So if you click view, you can if you install the add-on, it's already in Blender when you first download it, so you don't have to like go and download an extra add-on. I mean, I do know that there is an add-on that can help you with measuring out things, but I was never able to actually get it installed. I did download it and I was gonna try it out, but I never got it to work for me for some reason. But this is my favorite add-on that is already in Blender. It's called Measure It. And right here you can see all you gotta do is hit show. Right now it's on it's showed right now, but if I press hide it'll go away. If I press show, you can see that the cube is 2mm, 2.00 m for millimeters. And right now what I'm designing is some brackets for the 20 by 40 aluminum excursions for the frame of the PCB machine that I'm designing. So right now all I gotta do is go over to the back side of the cube and hit the facing option here, and then just click the back of the face. I'm gonna make sure that this is at least 5mm thick for the actual plate. These are mounting brackets that I'm designing for the 20 by 40 excursions. I already designed two of them, well, one of them, and then I just duplicated it or copied the original design that I had just made, but I'll show you that here in a second. But as you can see, if I just pull on the Y arrow, that'll bring it out. I want it to be at least 5mm, so it's at 3 now. It's climbing up, so 5 will be thick enough, because I believe I have some M4 screws with T-nuts that is going to be big enough or long enough to be able to go through the holes and through the plastic, or the PLA or ABS plastic that I'm going to be using to 3D print these brackets out. So right about here is 5, but I'm going to go back just a little bit because it's a little longer than 5, a little bigger. There we go, 5. So we got 5mm right here, and the thick, that's to go from the Y. So it's not tall yet, but I will be changing that up. But first I want to make sure that I can see the information. So I'm going to select the edges here, and then just click on one edge here, hit segment so I can see the height. And it is 2mm as well, because I didn't change that yet. I'm going to leave it blue because blue is usually in Blender for the Z-axis, for up and down. So I'm going to leave it blue, just bring it up so I can see it. So bringing up the font size, and now I'm going to move it over on the X a little bit so you can see a little better. Okay, so now that we have all that, I'm going to click A twice on my keyboard to deselect everything. And then I already got the X, you can see it's red. And then I just showed the Y, now we have the Z. So the X is only 2mm, but that's going to be changing. But first, we're going to move the whole object to place it where we need it at. So first let me hit tab, and then I'm gonna change the color to like yellow. So let me do that by clicking on this world looking icon on the bottom right and hit new, and then all we gotta do is go to the white information here. So we're just gonna click on the white, and I'm gonna change it to yellow. So I'm gonna bring down this little circle down to a yellow, and right about there looks pretty good. And we're gonna bring it up the clarity so it looks actually more yellow. There we go. So now we have a yellow cube at the very moment, but it's gonna change to be a bracket. So first let me show you. Let me get out of here. So I'm gonna hit tab to get back into object mode. There we go. Now we're in edit mode, but hit tab, object mode. There we go. So that's the object that we have selected at the moment, and we can double check that by just clicking on here. I'm gonna change this to, I'm gonna retype the name of it, of the cube, 2040 bracket. B-R-A-C-K-E-T. Bracket back. B-A-C-K. Okay. And I don't know if I'm going to be doing the left or the right one first, so I'm going to just leave that one the way it is. I'll just leave it back. And then if I just zoom out here, you'll be able to see the other brackets that I have designed. So let me go to 7 to do top view, 7 on my numpad, and then we're going to hit shift and then the middle mouse button so we can move. Let me hide the measure it information. There we go. So right here is the plate that I already showed you that I had 3D printed on my longer LK5 Pro. So that is the plate that I already had designed and printed out on my printer. So that one is already in real world. Well, in the real world now. So, and these are the bearing holders that hold the bearings for the 8mm rods. It just doesn't have a bearing inside of it, other than it's just the actual mounting bracket, or the case of a bearing, basically, that you would put the bearing into. Anyway, right here is one of my L brackets that I designed for Blender, because I'm using a bunch of, well, I'm gonna have to cut it up. I have a lot of 20x40 aluminum excursions. They're at least 1,000mm or longer. So I'm going to be using a angle grinder that has a metal cutting bit on wheel on it, so that way I can cut down the sizes to match these sizes inside this inside of the frame that I actually put into Blender here. So all this is just a bunch of information, so that way I know the sizes that I need, so when I start making the actual frame and putting everything together, it'll look exactly how I'm making it inside of Blender. Anyway, I downloaded these 20x40 aluminum excursions from Thingiverse. I could have probably just took pictures with my phone of the actual real ones that I have and designed it myself, but this is a lot easier if I just go on Thingiverse to download the STL files, because it's a lot quicker. But when I downloaded it, they came out only 60mm thick, basically. So, or tall. So what I had to do was get into Blender. When I had imported the STL file, what I did was use measure it to measure out the actual lengths of the 60mm long aluminum excursions here. So what I did, I scaled them out. Matter of fact, I don't even see the one that I had on here, but I'm going to show you really quick. This is the right side bracket or excursion. So what I'm gonna do is just go back into tab here, and then we'll just use the edge loop and do this one edge here. Click on that and hit segment, and it's still in show, but we can't see it because it's not big enough to view it. There it goes. But I'm going to change the color so we can see it a little better. Let me do green so we can see, since I got a lot of red. But right here I'm gonna move it over on the X so we can look at it, and bring it down a little bit on the Y. So right here I have 200 millimeter long. I made it from 60 to 200 millimeters just by hitting one. You have to do something like this. If you get it from like Thingiverse like I did, you're gonna have to go into edit mode and then select just the top vertices, and then just use the move tool and actually move the actual vertices up to make it longer. Basically, it's gonna basically be extruding it. So you can see I got 200 millimeters right here. So let me just show you. I'm gonna get out of that. So we got 200 millimeters on this one, and I already duplicated or copied this one, so this one for sure is 200 millimeters as well. But we're gonna double check for the actual Z, the Z height, or the height of these excursions here. So I'm gonna do 3 on my numpad so we can see the right side view, and then we're gonna hit tab one more time, and we're still in edge select. So we're gonna just select one of these edges here. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit so I can select one of these lines right here, and then we're gonna hit segment, and it's gonna still be blue because we're dealing with the Z height, since that's usually blue in Blender anyway. I try to leave the colors the same. So I'm gonna bring it up. Okay, and it's showing 145, which is a little strange. Let me just double check. I'm gonna deselect that and select one of these center edges here. Right here, that should do pretty good. Segment, and yeah, see, that's 200 now. You can't really see it because I need to bring the font up. There we go. So we're at 200 for the left and the right side bracket, not brackets, but the excursions. And all I did was copy or duplicate this one, so this one should be 200 as well. So I got 200 for the bottom and 200 tall for both the left and the right Z-axis height. And then I also got a 20 by 20 aluminum excursion right here. I got that as well from Thingiverse. We may have to change it because I'm not exactly sure about. Matter of fact, let me just hide this really quick since we already know it's 200 millimeters. I don't need everything in the way while I'm trying to do this. But so I'm gonna select the 20 by 20 excursion, and then I'm gonna hit tab one more time. And see, I did already scale it out. That's why it's already highlighted for these top vertices. But first we're going to get back to, let me hit A twice so that we can deselect everything. And we're going to select one of these edges here. So I'm going to click this one and then segment. And we can't see it yet because I don't have it viewing yet. Let me bring it up. There we go. So we got 254, which I'm a little not sure why that is. Let me just look at the one that I actually have in real life here. Okay, and I think I did right. Oh, it's 100 and, oh wait, no, that's not right. Let me get my ruler really quick. I'm sorry if this is taking long, guys. Just give me like 2 seconds here. I got my ruler in the corner. Okay. I just grabbed the ruler, so now all I gotta do is measure out the length using my ruler that does millimeters and inches, because it does both metric and American SAE, I believe that's what it's called. But so let me just double check. I got a 20 by 20 aluminum excursion in my hand, and I'm placing it on the ruler so I can measure out exactly the length of the one that I have in my hand right now. And it is showing 100 and 510. Yeah, it's showing 510 millimeters, which is really long, and I don't mind it being long, but I can cut it if I needed to. But I'm gonna just try to make sure that everything is looking accurate. And 510 is way more than what I need, because the build plate or the actual bed that I designed is only 200 millimeters, because my PCB copper traces are, let me just double check really quick of the length of these copper traces. And these copper traces that I got big ones and small ones, but right now I'm holding a big one in my hand, and it is measuring out to be 180 millimeters. So that's why I made the bed 200, just in case I needed to drill some holes into it to help to add for like clamps to hold down the PCB bracket or board that I'm gonna be cutting into with the Dremel or the ER11 collet tool or motor. So that's one of the reasons why I made the actual bed itself, or the surface, is 200 millimeters in square. So since my actual aluminum excursion is a lot longer, it's gonna be way longer than it really needs to be. I could cut it when I'm done and scale it down, I'll cut it down to the right size that I would most likely need. But I'm going just to make sure in Blender that my information is all accurate. So first we're gonna do the edge, the vertices, those dots. So I have vertices select, and I'm gonna hit A twice on my keyboard, and then we're gonna get into X-ray view, and we're gonna hit B on the keyboard, and then we're just gonna select these top vertices right here, and then we're gonna pull them out like extruding. So that will make it to be 510. That's what I'm going to do, just to make sure it's the same as the stuff that I have in the real world. I mean, I know that I'm pretty sure that I may cut it. I'm just not 100%, because if I don't need to cut it down to size, then I most likely won't, because I do have another aluminum excursion, so like it's a little tricky to know which one I'm gonna use. I don't know if it's bigger or smaller than that 510 one that I'm using right now to measure stuff out with. But either way, so we're at 4. I need just to get it to 510. So I'm gonna move over using that hand, and then bringing it up. 520, 517, 16, 14, 10, 11, and 10. 1073. I'm trying to make sure that they're all 100% the same exact information. I don't like having it bigger, a little longer, or smaller than whatever it is that I'm using. So I'm zooming in and zooming out a lot, because I want to make sure that I can see. And it's easier to get better accurate measurements if you zoom in a lot whenever you're using your mouse to move the length. But we're getting there. I just need to move it back just a little. A little too much. See, that's what I mean. The aluminum excursion it's a little tricky when it comes to actually use and measure it sometimes, because if you really want to have precise and accurate measurements, you have to zoom in a lot to get better movement to move to the exact location you want it to be at. Jeez. A lot more difficult than it has to be. So we're at 500. Let me just go up. And I have to bring the Z, the X back over, I guess, because I can't see it now. 1. Okay, there goes the Z. Let's bring it back over. Wait. Is that the one? No, that's not the Z that I'm looking for. So what we'll do really quick, I'll delete this one, and then we'll just do a new one so that we can see a little better. I'm sorry if this is taking really long, guys. It's just something that I wanted to show you guys, because I like showing people what I'm doing, because I know that a lot of people do look at my videos and be asking me questions about things. So if Blender is going to be one of the things that people will start asking me about how I'm designing things, I would like to teach people and show people things. So these are just videos to, it helps me too, because when I got into my coma and had lost some of my memory, I used my old videos that I had made when I was smarter and used it to teach myself, basically. So it helps out pretty much everybody, you guys and myself. But I did get all my memory back, and that's one of the reasons why I know all these hotkeys for Blender still. So Blender has a lot of hotkeys. I can't explain exactly how many there is, but you can look it up on Google, but there is plenty, and it's hard to memorize all of them by heart. But I do know I did myself, because I was always using Blender to design things, just like how I'm showing you now. So I'm trying to move this over. So we're at 509.93. So I'm going to zoom in, move this over a little bit more, zoom in, move this over a little bit more. Every time you zoom in, it's like it moves the font from the position you just had it. 510, 510, 2. Oh no. 44, 2. Let's just leave it at 510.02. That's fine. It's not super important, because obviously if I need to cut the actual excursion later, then I will definitely do so. But at the moment, that's where we're at. So I'm going to deselect that and hit this so that we can see the look of what it looks like. And I'm going to set origin to center of mass surface volume, and then we can see what it looks like. Let me just hide all the other measuring information, and we're going to bring this over. Now the reason why I'm doing any of this for the 20 by 20 is because I will be 3D printing, and I already have some actual metal brackets for like the CR10 for the Z height, the Z mountain bracket. So I'm going to probably be 3D printing me some, just to make sure that I have some decent ones. And I do have some V-wheels, so I already have pretty much a lot of information on brackets and stuff that I already would need to design all this in real life. And you can see I'm just zooming in a little bit here, so that way I can make sure that it's not smacked up against the actual 20 by 40. I want to make sure that it's right next to each other, just close enough. So that's why I'm using the X-ray view. And then I'm going to bring it up to right here. Looks okay. Double select. There we go. And you can see that it's not smacked up against it. Let me just go to 3 on the keyboard, numpad, and then I'm going to zoom in. So we're looking at the right side view. And then we're going to move it over just a tad here. right there looks pretty good. So the reason why I do that is so that way if when I download from like Thingiverse a Z height bracket basically for 3D printers for like the Ender 3 or the CR10, I can make sure that the V wells and everything is looking accurate inside or in the bracket is looking right inside of the program here on Blender. So you guys are I am showing you the information already about I already made this plate or heated or the bed plate, so that would be like for a heated bed or for a CNC machine plate bed that you will be cutting into stuff basically. And then I also designed, like I got on Thingiverse and downloaded a Y-axis belt tensioner, and I had to configure it in Blender to make sure that I can actually 3D print me one that can attach to the front part of this aluminum excursion here. So you can see that I already designed it, and I even have some adjustment leveling M4 screws, so that way when I place it, matter of fact, I could try to show you that, but once I have flipped this by hitting like rotate by 90 degrees, it'll be up against this 20 by 40 excursion. And the reason why I have these holes kind of long and dragged out is because if I needed to adjust the height of where the belt is going to be placed in the center here, then I'll be able to do so just to make sure that it's lined up correctly. And I do have a belt attachment here. I downloaded that from Blender as well, and it uses M4 holes or 4mm holes, and it's all I gotta do is drill. I already have it designed in Blender, but I will have to drill it out because I already printed this plate out. But I designed the 4mm hole so that way I can place it into this clamp. These are GT2 belt clamps that I got from Thingiverse. If I zoom in, you can see there's grooves in here to hold on to the belt. And with that being said, then I'll be able to attach my belt, and then all I gotta do is get a NEMA 17 stepper motor attached to the back here, and then with the GT2 belt pulley that will be attached to the stepper motor, that will be able to move the plate front and back. And I will have to make sure that I have an end stop just to make sure that the plate doesn't smack into the aluminum excursion like you see right here. It looks like it's trying to go through it, but it's not going to be able to do that in real life. So let me just undo that movement and place it back where it's at. So right here, I will be adding probably a end stop to like one of these aluminum excursions here to make sure that when the bed plate hits the end stop, that will be the end that it can go to. And then I don't know if it's going to be 20mm long that it can be able to travel or longer. I haven't decided yet. Plus, I still need to put everything together, and then I'll be able to figure out the measurement information. But either way, now that we have all that down, let me zoom out a little bit here. I need to go to the cube that I just showed you earlier, and there it goes right here. So that is the 20 by 40 bracket that I need to design. So we're gonna get into that right now. So we're gonna need to do 3 on the numpad, and then we're gonna go down using the arrow, and I'm gonna zoom. Oh, I'm gonna go over a little bit. Remember, we made sure that this is only 5mm thick of the cube, which will be 5mm thick of the 3D printed piece that we're gonna be making here. So about right here looks okay. And then remember, I was telling you guys that I'm gonna have to make this taller. So let me just zoom out here. Zoom in. I'm using my middle mouse button to pan around so that way I can see the actual cube itself. Okay, so I'm gonna hit tab again, and this time we need to show the information again. And remember, it's only blue because we're looking at the Z height. So I'm gonna select the face select, and then we're gonna select the top face, and you see that blue arrow is for the Z. So going up will change the size. So now we're at 15, 17, 20. So we're gonna be doing it to match the 20 by 40, and this is 40 millimeters tall, I believe. And then front and back are on the Y axis that we're looking at right now would be from here to here would be 20 millimeters. So we're gonna go up 40 just to make sure that it is gonna be able to basically touch the bottom of the aluminum excursion that we have here. And I'm gonna bring it up some more. And yes, I know this video is very long, guys, and I am sorry, but this is a lot of information. I just want to make sure that you guys kind of understand what I'm doing here. Even if you're not into designing or 3D printing or building machines like I am, I just like showing people that I am able to still do things like this, even though I had that stupid accident many years ago. I should have never got that damn motorcycle, but either way, I am still very smart, and I still remember a lot of things, and that's one of the reasons why I do still do these things. So now we're at 80, so I'm going to have to zoom out a little bit because we need to go to 40. Okay, 60. Go down, and 44, 42, 41, 40. Zoom in a little bit so we get better measuring information. Right, 40, 10. And that's the tricky part about Blender. Like when you're trying to measure stuff, you really have to be really close view so that we can get the right information. 40.1, 0.01. But I'll go to 3. Because I panned around a lot, so I just want to make sure that we were looking at it right. Anyway, so for this, we're going to go on the Y to bring it up a little bit, and then move it over on the Z just a tad. Then we're going to zoom in a lot. And see, whenever you zoom in, it kind of like moves even the measuring information. But zooming in a lot helps to be able to get finer increments to move. 40.1, and go up on the Y some more so we can see. Zoom in. See, zooming in even moved where it was located at a second ago on the Y. And bring it down. Oh no. There it goes. 40 millimeters. Okay, I got that. And now all we have to do, I'm gonna do Control 1. That will show the back side. Hitting 1 on your numpad will give you front side view, but if you hit Control 1, it'll give you the back side view of the front of the back, basically. Anyway, so now that we have that, all we gotta do is hit Tab, right click, and hit Center to Mask Surface again. And then all we gotta do is move this over to the aluminum excursion. Let me just hide all the measuring information so they're not in the way. And bring this over here. So this is where my 20 by 40 aluminum excursion is going to be placed at. So that way I have enough space and information. I need to bring this down just to make sure that it's lined up. You can do X-ray view, I could show you that really quick, to measure the line edges basically, so you can see exactly where to line up. Since we have the cube selected, it's highlighting in orange, so we just need to lift that up to line up with this black. And right about here, right there. Okay. So now that we have that lined up, it should line up pretty well with the bottom vertice edge lines here. And this is just so that way we know that we're not actually gonna smack the bottom flooring where we're trying to put in the bracket to attach both of the excursions together. Anyway, so now that we have this, let me go back to showing all the information and get out of X-ray view, and we'll go back to colors. And then we're going to hit tab one more time, and we're on face select still, so we're going to select this one. And remember, we're working on the X-axis, so doing so is going to make us move left and right. So I need to go back to front view, or front back view basically, control 1, and then we will drag this out so we can see better. It's probably going to be another 40 millimeters to measure out all the information. It's only showing 20 right now because we were in the center. So now I just need to select this, control 1, and then we will move this over to the left. We're just trying to make sure it lines up with both of the excursions here. Anyway, so now that we have that, you can see it's almost set for the 40 millimeters, but I just need to drag it out a little more. But we're going to be using X-ray view real quick just to make sure that it lines up properly. Right here. And then we'll get back into looking at the colors. And I'm going to select this one, get back, let me do control 1 one more time, and then X-ray view one more time, because we need to make sure that the right side is lining up with the other lines. So let me just hide this really quick and move you over a tad. Right about there looks actually pretty good. Let me hit show, and that is 39.92. I mean, it doesn't have to be fully accurate, but I will move it over just a tad, because I like to keep my stuff as closely accurate as I can. Let me zoom in some more. Go back to the left. Nope, too much. Zooming in. And now we got to move this on the Y to bring it down so we can see. Zoom in. And then move it over a little bit more to the right. The left. 39, 40. So 40.02 is looking like that. That's all that I can fully get at this very second. I'm going to zoom in some more. And then if I just bring this on the Y down a little bit, or no, that's the X. So let me move it over on the Y here. And move that over on the X. Y down a little more. Over on the X. I do this a lot so that way I can actually see when I zoom in a lot. See, zooming in, it makes all these little squares in Blender really small. So that's probably why you have to zoom in a lot to get it to see 40. Now it's 0. See, zooming in a lot helps to make better movements for it to be an accurate measurement. Anyway, now we have that. Let me go back to this, get out of that X-ray view, and now we're at 40 millimeters, and that measures up with this 20 by 40 excursion. And now what I'm going to do is get out of edit mode, hit tab, and then we're going to hit right click onto the cube, and we're going to go to set origin to center of mass surface volume. And now we have all of that done, we're going to have to get back into the cube because we're going to have to pull it up to attach this aluminum excursion to this aluminum excursion with this bracket that we're making. So now all I'm going to do is go back into edit view or edit mode and then select the top face, and then we're going to go, oh wait, that was 1 so we could see front view, but I need to do control 1. There we go. So now I'm going to go up a little bit here. I don't want to go too far up because we want to make sure that we're not going to be smacking against like any V-wheels or anything ridiculous. And plus we're going to have to segment this height that we're at now. Well, let me just double check. It should be on Z, but I'm not seeing it. Let me do 3. No, I don't see it. So let me just get back to edge mode, edge select, and then we're going to select this vertice, this edge, and then we'll do segment one more time here. And every time you do that, it's going to show blue. So right now I'm going to change that to a yellow. And then I'll bring it up so we can see. Oh wait, there. Bring it up. And I don't know why I can't see it. It's not hidden. It's weird that I can't see the information for it. Let me just delete this yellow again and select this side. And then we'll do segment one more time here. There it goes. Now I can see it, but it's blue, so I'm going to have to change that back to yellow so we can see a little better. I mean, it is on blue because we're going to be using the information for the Z height, basically, for up and down, or top and bottom. Anyway, now we have that. Let me go to my face select, and we'll select this top face again. Go back to 3. No, let me go to control 1. So do the back front side view, and then we're gonna go up, and we're at, let's just do, it's at 70. Let me do 80 would probably do, no, that may be too tall. So I'll do 65. Zoom in so we can get better movement. 65.7. Let's go on Y to go up so we can see. X to move it over. Zoom in. Y to move it up. X. Zoom in. Okay. Now I gotta bring it down just a tad. Zoom in some more. Almost there. 65.01. That's what I'm talking about. Whenever you're using the information, when you zoom in, and you have to zoom in a lot just to get the information you want. To get the measurement that you want, basically. So I'm using Y to move the information up so we can see. And then I zoom in some more. There we go, 65 millimeters. So now that's 65 millimeters tall. And I'm going to hide that since we already know what it is. And I'll hide the 5 millimeter thickness on the Y or the cube, because we don't need it. Anyway, so now that we have all that, let me go out of this, hit tab. Now we're in object mode again, and then we're going to hit origin, set right click, set origin to center of mass surface, because every time you scale or bring the information up, it moves the information, your origin. So with that being said, now that we have all that, now I just need to get a cylinder in and make sure that it's 4 millimeters at least, so that way we can cut those holes. We're going to be doing a boolean to cut out the actual holes for mounting the bracket to both of these excursions. And the only reason I'm doing it this way is because I don't have a whole lot of like M6 bolts that would work for the hose for, let me just show you. Inside of aluminum excursion, they have these hoses here. You can actually tap and die those. Tap the M6 bolts for the ones that I have right now, and I could put M6 screws into the actual excursion and use the excursion as kind of like bolts for the M6, the nuts. I mean, they're like nuts, and I'll be using M6 bolts to screw into the nut of the excursion. But since I don't have a lot of those right now, I'm using M4 bolts and T-nuts to mount inside of the actual excursion, to mount these mounting brackets here, to make sure I can make the frame without having to drill or tap and die anything. Anyway, so let me get out of this and get back into looking at the colors, and then we're gonna do, we're in object modes, which is good. So hit Shift A to add a mesh, and then we're gonna do a cylinder. And now there goes the cylinder. We're gonna bring the cylinder up so we can see. Hit 7 on the keyboard or numpad, and we're gonna zoom out a little bit here. And then we're gonna bring this back side to the back here for the actual cylinder. And then we're going to zoom in a lot so we can see the cylinder. The cylinder looks white basically, or like a type of gray, or like close to white, because we didn't make a color of it yet. And matter of fact, let's do that now. Since we still have the world view here basically, or selected, we're gonna hit new, and I'm gonna change it to red because we're using it to cut out of that bracket that I'm trying to design right now. So now I'm going to hit tab on my keyboard so that we can see we're in edit mode, and then we're gonna have to hit the edge select, and I'm gonna hit A twice on my keyboard to deselect everything, and then we're just making sure that we're gonna be at the right thickness for the cylinder. So on the left side, I'm gonna select this top edge, vertice I mean, and we're gonna hit this left vertice. So left and right, select it, and then I hit segment, and now you can see it comes out as 2 millimeters. And I'm going to change that to red since we're working on the x-axis right now. And then I'm going to make the font size taller or bigger so we can see it. So it's at 2 millimeters, you can see right there. And now to change that, we're going to hit I'm going to tap A lot to deselect just those one vertices that we had. Hit A one more time just to select all the vertices this time. And then we're going to hit S to scale out the size. We're going to use our mouse just to pull it out down. And that's going to make you see that it's changing the size. Now we're at 4 millimeters, a little over 4. And that's fine. I would rather do like 4.5, just to make sure that my M4 screws can go through the hose without me having to use like a drill bit to make them wider if it's too tight. So I'm going to do 4.5, 50, oh wait, hit scale one more time, bring it down a little, right there, 4.50. So now we're going to hit 1 on the numpad, and matter of fact, control 1, and then we'll go up. You can see right there we still have the information. So since we're at 5 millimeters thick on that bracket that I'm designing, I need to make sure that this is bigger than 5 because we're going through it. So press A twice on my keyboard to deselect all the vertices. Now I'm just going to click the top and bottom of this vertice here, of those 2 vertices, which is basically edge select. and then we're gonna hit segment, and now we're gonna leave it blue. It is showing 4.05 because we scaled basically all the edges, or the left, right, and top and bottom to be 4.5. So now we're gonna change. Let me bring this up so we can see, and I'll bring it down so we can make sure that it's not against the red. I'm gonna leave it blue because we're working on the top and bottom vertices basically. So now I'm gonna hit A twice to deselect all vertices, hit B to box select, and then we're gonna grab the bottom here, and then we're gonna drag down so we can make it longer. So we're gonna do, let me do like 15, let me do 20 millimeters long. 20.04. It really doesn't matter because as long as it's thick enough to cut through that 5 millimeter cube that we got. So I'm gonna leave it 20.01. Okay, and then we're gonna go back out of X-ray view, and then I'm gonna hit A twice to deselect everything, hit tab to get back into object mode. And remember, I was telling you that once you extrude or move the vertices to a longer position or taller or thicker, it's gonna change the origin. So you have to, when you're in object mode, you can right select and hit set origin, and center of mass surface volume is where you want to be at, basically, at least where I want to be at. Anyway, so now that we have that selected, we'll zoom out a lot. Let me hide all the information because we don't need all that right now. And bring this over down, and then we're going to bring it over to try to line up with the aluminum excursion inner T-nut bracket information. So I'm going to go up a little bit more so we can see that it lines up nicely. And right about here actually looks pretty good. But if we do X-ray view, you can see that the lines should line up pretty nicely with these. The reason why there's a lot of lines is because it's basically like a V-slot design, I believe. So I'm going to just move it over just a tad just to make sure that both sides are kind of measuring the same amount of thickness. Anyway, so now that we have that, let's go back to the colors, and this time we're going to do 3 on our numpad on the keyboard. And now we're looking at the right side view, and we're gonna move this over. And what's good about this, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit so you can see here. Now all we gotta do is hit R to rotate, R, and then on the keyboard on the numpad I'm gonna hit 90 for 90 degrees. And now it's going to be able to be long enough and in the right position to boolean cut out of this cube that we're making the bracket for. So right about here actually looks pretty nice. I zoomed in so we can see a little clearer or better. And then I'm gonna hit Control 1 on my numpad so we can actually look at the information. Now let's do X-ray view, and you can see that this excursion right here is pretty closely touching this one. So I'm gonna have to actually probably move that up a little bit because it looks too close to that excursion. I just want to make sure that they're really close, but not close where they're overlapping each other. Okay, so now we'll go back to this. So now we have that. We're gonna bring this up. I probably will add like 2 holes on both sides for the top and bottom holes, because I want to make sure that this bracket holds the frame in place really well. So now what I'll do is hit Shift D, and that's to duplicate or copy, and then we'll hit Z so that way it's going to go up and down. So we'll bring it down, to right about here. Let me just do X-ray view so we can see a little better. And we don't want it to actually be too close to this excursion, so I'm going to lift this up a little bit here. And right about there actually looks okay. And then we're going to move this one up a little bit as well. And now that we have those up, see, I don't want them smacking against each other, because when we're screwing them in, it'll be a lot easier to make the screws go without them touching or grinding up against each other. So I'm just adjusting everything. I just want to make sure that this doesn't like cut through the top part of this bracket here. So that's the reason why I had to move that down a little bit. And I want to make sure that this doesn't overlap the excursion here, and I want to make sure that the T-nut doesn't go past the aluminum excursion here either. That's why I do X-ray view a lot. So the T-nut will probably line up right about here, because it's going to be attached, like probably touching this excursion. So I'm going to do right about here, should be good. So now that we have all that, we're gonna hit shift and left click both of these cylinders, and we're going to actually left click as well. And now we're gonna hit join, so they're one object now. And we're gonna just rename this to do 4. We're gonna type it in 4 millimeters holes or screws. SCREWS. Screws, holes, HOLES, with a space in between. And then what we'll do now that we have these all one object, we're going to do center of mass surface volume. So now it's one area. Now we're going to do shift D to duplicate both of those, and we're going to hit X to do it on the X-axis, and then we're going to move it over to line up right about here. That should do pretty well. Let me just hit box select X-ray view so that we can actually zoom in a little bit here. So that is really close, but I'm going to move it over just a little bit on the left. Right here. Actually looks like it lines up perfectly with this one. Just maybe a little more. I always try to make sure my stuff is really closely accurate with the other information. Okay, so now we have all that. Now what we can do as well, we can still select both of these because we're still in object mode. And then we'll left click again, set or join. And now that that is the hose again, I'll do hose, rename it to hose 2, hit enter, and then we're going to hit right click, and then we're going to set origin to center mass surface again. I do that a lot just to make sure that it's accurate. And now we're going to do 3 on the numpad so that we can make sure that we're going through, the red is going through the yellow for the bracket. And now that we are looking accurate here, and it looks long enough to go through, now we're going to select the cube or the bracket that we're making, and then we're going to go to this wrench here, and these are modifiers. So we're going to add a modifier, and it's going to be a boolean, and it already sets it for difference or extract. So you're going to hit this eyedropper tool here, and we're going to select the 4 millimeter hole screw holes 2, and then we're going to select that. And now it's selected, and then we just hit apply by hitting this drop down menu, hit apply. And now if we just select that again and then we hide it, and we just use our middle mouse button, we can actually see that the holes went through and it's lined up nicely, which is a good thing. So now that we have all that done, now we gotta go back to the holes again, but this time we're gonna select so we can see it. Oh wait, no, not that one. We need to do hose 2 one more time. And the reason why I'm doing this again is because we need to line this. Now we have the holes measured, lined out for the Z mounting plate, basically. We're going to we need to boolean cut out the bottom to mount it to the bottom plate of the bottom of the aluminum excursion. So Control 1, so we can see the back facing information. Move down, and then we're gonna use the blue arrow to bring this down and make sure that it lines up. We may have to adjust this a little bit because we're gonna have to go back into edit mode to make sure that these are lining up properly. So that actually looks okay right here, but these bottom holes will have to still be fixed, basically. So we're gonna go back into looking at the colors, and then we're gonna hit tab so we can get back into edit mode. Let me go back into X-ray view, hit A twice to deselect everything, hit B to bot select. We're just selecting these vertices here because we need to move those down. So right about here, let me go back into colors again. Oh no, I mean it did move, but we need to look at the X-ray view. I'm sorry I have to do that a lot because I just want to make sure that they're lining up with this, with these edge lines here. So right about here, looks like it'll line up pretty nicely with. I'm sorry, my throat was feeling a little strange there for a second, but so now that we have the holes basically looking like they will line up properly with the top and the bottom of the lines here, these edges. So let me get back into colors, and I'm going to hit A twice to deselect these vertices. And now that we have those all moved, they're still lined up properly. And you can see right here that they will go right through the aluminum excursion and touch base with the aluminum excursion for the T-nut slot. See, this is basically a V slot, sort of. But either way, now that we're done with that, let's get out of edit mode now that we're done with this. And now we're gonna go Control 1 again, and we're gonna do set origin and center of mass surface because we just moved them again. So now we have all those selected. I'm using my middle mouse button just to pan around a little bit so I can see pretty well. And then we're gonna hit the box or the bracket or the cube, basically. We're gonna do another modifier, hit boolean one more time. We're back at different still. And then this time we're going to boolean cut out one more time for these holes. And now we're going to hit apply one more time. And then we'll select this and we're going to hide it. And now we got the holes cut out for all 4 of the bolts that we're probably going to need. So we got all the holes ready. So we got 4 for the bottom, 4 for the top, just to make sure that when they're attached to the aluminum excursion, it won't do any movement, because your CNC/3D printer is going to move around a lot, so you want to make sure that it doesn't move the frame where it throws off your cut or the 3D print that you're trying to do, because the frame may be able to move around if it's not attached or mounted securely. So now we have all that selected. Now we're going to go to the back side, so Control 1, and then we got to just duplicate or copy this design. So Shift D, and we're going to do it on the X again so we can move it over, because we need to mount up both the left and the right. So right about here looks pretty well. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so I can see a little better. It's a tad bit off maybe. Let me just spot select. And actually looks pretty well. Let me just move it over to the left just a tad. Right here should be perfect. Okay. So now we'll go back into looking at the colors. And now we have just made 2 mounting brackets for the Z, for the top and bottom here, for these aluminum excursion plates that were just designed. And you can see that all this is looking pretty well. So now I got the M4 holes, or 4mm holes, for the M4 screws and the T-nuts to mount inside of this aluminum excursion on the bottom back facing excursion, and then the left side Z height and the right side Z height. Anyway, so that pretty much concludes this episode, because I just wanted to show you guys how I'm designing this PCB designing machine that I'm making here in Blender at the moment. But I am making it in real life. That's one of the reasons why I had started that Facebook page about Blender designs in IRL for in real life, because I know that I design a lot of stuff in Blender to make machines like 3D printers, CNC machines, CO2 laser cutters, all kind of different machines. Anyway, hope you guys liking the video. Please like, share, subscribe, and let me know what you think in the comments down below about this machine and all the information that I just provided you. And if you want to know more or want to see more designs or videos about me designing stuff like this, let me know. And this is just the end of this video, because I haven't downloaded or put into an STL file of the Z V-well brackets for the Z height for the actual NEMA 17 stepper motors to move the excursion up and down like this. Let me just undo that. Anyway, hope you guys liked the video. Please let me know what you think, and if you want to see me showing or designing or putting in a Z bracket for the Z axis NEMA 17 stepper motor, and I still need to add a Y axis stepper motor for the back, so I don't know if I have to design one, because I need to make sure that it is mounted here. Now I can't let it let the build plate smack against the actual NEMA 17 stepper motor. So I don't know if I need to design or remix a design to make it kind of come out a little bit. So let me just do 3 so you can see what I mean. So right here, if I had a NEMA 17 stepper motor, I don't want it to smack against the plate here when it moves backwards. Let me just show you. Like this. I don't want it to smack against it or do anything weird. So I may have to design me my own mounting plate for the NEMA 17 stepper motor for the Y and the Z axis. I'm not sure yet. But hope you guys liked the video. Please like, share, subscribe, and let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.